Mhm.
Okay, here we go. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Ask the Attorney. My name is Blair Clark, and I am here with David Sobel from Sobel Law. How are you doing, David, tonight? How are you doing, Sobel? How are you doing,
It's
David?
okay. I'm doing great. It's a little bit later at night, but I feel good. Like you said,
Right.
we're going to power through it. We got some
Yes.
great questions that came in this week. No, everything's good. How are you doing?
Doing really well. Same. David and I both have had very full days, so we're getting through these questions in the evening, but we've got some great questions tonight that we're going to answer, provide you guys with some great information. And so before we get into the questions though, David, if anyone out there is looking for a real estate attorney, how can they get a hold of you and your firm?
Well, first of all, we're real estate and contracts attorneys, right? We do a lot of contract law. That doesn't always have to be related to real estate, but we are real estate and contract and finance attorneys. We can be reached at 888-789-1715. You can also go to provenresource.com, or you can go to just look my name up, David Sobel, right in the URL, and I should pop up. There's quite a, this is over the years, just tons of information related to our name, Sobel Law. And, just so you know, we're also located in Michigan, but we practice as well throughout the state of Ohio. So we handle both states, the entire state of Michigan and Ohio. And that's pretty much it. That's how you can reach us.
Yeah, and if you're not already watching this on YouTube, which you probably are, but if you aren't, David has an awesome YouTube channel that you guys can find great content like this video and so much more on so many different topics. So just go to YouTube and in the search bar, just type in David Sobel, Proven Resource, Sobel Law, and his YouTube channel will pop up with all sorts of content on there for you guys.
Right.
But we're going to jump right into the questions tonight because we have quite a few. And the first one comes from Niles, Michigan. So it looks like most of them are coming from Michigan. We've got one from California later on, which is an interesting one. But let's get into the first one tonight that asks, should I hold my rental properties in an LLC or should they be placed in a living trust? From Not Quite Sure in Niles, Michigan.
Yeah. That's such a common question. We get that call at least maybe 2 to probably 5 times a week, right? It's so common. I actually have articles on that on our website at provenresource.com that you can, the viewers can read, but it's easier on video, right? So it's definitely a common question. The answer is a little bit more complicated, though, as it always is.
Yeah.
Number one, what are your goals as a real estate investor? But let me just tell you real briefly the difference between an LLC and a living trust, and we'll try and keep it real brief because we only have so much time. The LLC is a limited liability company. It's a form of a corporate entity in the state of Michigan, which basically recognizes this entity that allows, once the entity is formed, the members of the LLC get the protection of a corporation, the legal protection of a corporation, but they're taxed as based on their individual tax rate. Okay, that's what the beauty of the LLC is. That's but one benefit, but it really makes things a lot easier for small real estate investors, who may own 10 to 20 properties. Okay, and the LLC protects, if you do it right, will protect you for personally, your personal assets from any type of lawsuits, right? Because the asset is under the corporate veil and protection of the corporation. Here's the thing, you do have to regularly conduct yourself as a corporation. You just can't have the filing of the limited liability company without all the required items that a limited liability company would be required to do in Michigan. One of the things you have to have is an operating agreement. You have to file your returns, and you have to basically act as a corporation according to the operating agreement. If you ignore all that, if you ignore Michigan corporate law, it's very likely that if, God forbid, you were sued and you went to court and you tried to use the limited liability corporation as a shield to protect you from personal liability, a court could actually just do what we call pure stat corporate veil because you were not conducting yourself like a corporation. Okay, that's number one. The nice thing about an LLC is the LLC is like any other entity. It can own property. It can conduct any lawful business activities in the state of Michigan or in Ohio. The whole idea, though, with this LLC is that if you put the property in the LLC, under the umbrella of the LLC, you can have different members. Join your LLC. You could be a single member limited liability company, or you can be a multi-member limited liability company with different people have different functions, etc. Officers, the whole thing. The great thing about the limited liability company is, God forbid you pass or something happens to you, you will have provisions on how to maintain that continuity of the corporation so that the other members can benefit from the real estate if that's the only asset in the corporation. Okay, that's number one. Now, compare and contrast that to a living trust. Okay? Living trust works very similarly to that, except it's more of an estate planning vehicle. The living trust is its own entity, just like an individual. You have to set it up. You have to title everything in the name of the living trust, the same way as you'd have to title the property in the name of the limited liability company. The difference about the living trust is, if you have an heir or a beneficiary, because that's what you're going to do, is you're going to name a beneficiary to that living trust. Because when you die, you need a beneficiary, okay? And then that living trust no longer is living. It's called a revocable trust. It's not revocable after you pass. The trust itself lives on after you die, hence that's the name, that's where you get the name living trust. But with the trust, somebody can challenge the fiduciary, the trustee, as to how they are performing their duties as a trustee under the living trust, okay? But still shield you from certain legal liability and tax liability, but you're more likely to have litigation exposure if you're conducting yourself as a living trust than as you would if the property were under an LLC. And the reason is that courts are very hesitant to interfere with the operation of a limited liability company or a C Corp. But probate courts, and right, because that's where that would go if there's a beneficiary that has an issue, they don't have as much reservation as getting involved if there's a problem with the trust. Okay? That's the difference. I said that very fast. There are quite a few benefits for both. I would encourage people, this call, like I said, happens, we either get emails or phone calls every week on this. I encourage people to call in because we want to know more about what your goals are. We have a whole estate planning division. We deal with real estate on a regular basis in the estate planning arena. But for real estate investors, they're really not looking at the living trust for that purpose. They're looking at it for, like, they believe it gives them more legal, like, shield from taxes and legal liability. And the truth is, it's not always the case. Okay. I know I went real fast on that, but I just want to let you know.
No, that's good. All right, so that's what you should do. Not quite sure in Niles is you should.
I still left them not quite sure. Blair,
yeah. Well, yeah, we're still not quite sure until you give David or a real estate attorney like David a call to figure out your individualized plans and goals.
Definitely.
Good. Yep.